Hey everybody, it's Mark Schultz here, and we are here with another LinkedIn Live session of Recovery in Aviation. It's going to be a great day. Hey, we are really focused on recovery in aviation and all the things that are happening within the industry. Hey, I want to remind you, I want to thank you for joining us today. We have a tremendous audience today. Our guests have done an amazing job of getting out on social media. The fact that we're having this broadcast today, and we have a wonderful attendance today. Hey, this is live, and I want to remind you that you're going to have an opportunity during this broadcast to be able to comment down below and to be able to ask your questions. And you're going to be able to, we're going to have a live back and forth discussion with our panelists here today on this live broadcast. Help us out, share this broadcast so that we can get it out to the maximum number of people. It's going to be a good 60 minutes the next hour. We're going to have a lot of really good discussion. Hey, listen, I want to talk to you a little bit about, what's happening in the industry. There's a lot of things going on right now. We're seeing a lot of changes in the industry. We're seeing regulations being imposed. We're seeing, disinfecting of aircraft. We're seeing aircraft that are flying cargo, on the airplane. It's really pretty amazing. We've never seen anything like that before. We've seen, aircraft that are grounded. And, all of us are asking ourselves, how is this impacting our business? And what we have to do is we really have to focus on recovery. And what are the things that we can do in our business in order to be able to focus on recovery? And as part of this series in Recovery in Aviation, we are bringing to you some special guests today from Ramco Systems. And I have with me today here, I have Virender Agarwal, which we all go by VA. He's the CEO of Ramco. Welcome, VA. Good to have you with us today.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep, and we also have Manoj Singh. He's our Senior Vice President of Americas with Ramco. Welcome, Manoj.
Glad to be here, Mark.
Excellent. Glad to have you guys with us. Hey, listen, we're going to do something a little bit different here today. We, on our prep call, as we were getting ready for this discussion, we were bouncing ideas back and forth, and we were talking about the future of aviation and the role of digital technology. And we really had some good ideas going. And so we're going to dedicate this session to really looking at a holistic view of this. And we'll just have this sort of freewheeling chat between the three of us. VA is going to talk to us a bit about the technical aspects of aviation, and Manoj is going to share his customer insights. And so, we're going to just have this really interesting discussion amongst us today about the industry. And I know you're really going to like it. It's really going to be good. Hey, I just want to start out. Everybody's always interested in what's happening around the world. And, VA, I said thanks for being here, but where are you coming from today?
I'm based in Singapore, so it's midnight here. I'm coming from Singapore tonight.
Good. Thanks for your late night. We really appreciate it. And Manoj, where are you located?
I'm in a much more comfortable time zone, Mark. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
All right. Okay. So it's only about 11 o'clock in the morning for you. Good. All right. Well, I really appreciate the two of you being here and giving your time. And so, we wanted to kind of start out with just sort of a discussion in general about the industry as a whole. And we know that Ramco, you're really focusing on, what's happening around us and what are you doing in response to that? And so, VA, could you sort of give us sort of a high level view of how the company is addressing the challenges that are in the industry today?
Yeah, so one of the things that we see in the industry is getting the trust back into flying. How do I feel comfortable flying again? And what can we do for the situation? So we can see that it become a norm for staff to be tested, cabin crew, pilots to be tested maybe before every flight, or possibly once every week. And if the airport staff, also passengers will feel a lot more comfortable if they know that they have been tested as well. So that will give a lot of comfort to people. And if the staff is wearing personal protection equipment, be it masks or face covers and so on and so forth, that will also give a feeling of safety to the flying public. And if airlines, I know they're not keen to, they can keep the middle seat empty. That will go a long way to assure passengers that they're not rubbing shoulders where somebody's sitting next to them, and so on. So I think the paperless entry into the aircraft touchless. Don't insert the passport into the machine. Just scan everything from a distance. Scan your face to get entry into the aircraft and so on and so forth. Touchless experience will be key. Safe experience will be key, and the knowledge that if not all passengers, at least the crew is tested and you're safe. That is the minimum requirement, I think, before we restore the trust and the volumes. And in terms of our offering, I think Manoj is uh, best position to describe what product we have brought to the market to help companies meet those safety requirements.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing some impact all around us. Like what you said, we're seeing people being concerned about testing and about making certain that people aren't, sick and hygiene and things. And Manoj, I know that you guys have a very interesting product that you've come out with that's been a result of sort of the demands that are around us. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Mark. In fact, before I talk about the product, I must say that, in today's conversation, throughout today, you will see that a couple of themes that are going to emerge as we go through the whole process. Being agile in your business process, being able to pivot your offerings to meet the demand in a very quick manner. Those are some of the themes that are going to be talked about today. And in fact, this is a perfect example of the pivoting that we have done in our product line to come up with what we call as the pandemic control systems. So we basically looked at what we have in our tools of software. We are basically a software company. We looked at what we had to offer in our human control management HCM product offering, what we had to offer in our technology part of it, and what we put together is a pandemic control system, which all starts with the facial recognition. By the way, facial recognition is something that we had been doing for quite some time, even in our own internal offices. So we started with the facial recognition of employees, and then we put a layer of thermal scanning on top of it. The whole idea is that anyone who has any symptoms of elevated temperature can be detected at the very entry point of a building or an airport, right? And if any elevated temperature or beyond a particular threshold is detected, then we have this whole notion of notification going to the right authorities, whether HR or the admin staff or any other authority in the building or airport, and thereby taking care of the situation, right?
So Manoj, what you're telling me is that you don't have to actually put a thermometer to somebody's forehead. You're actually doing this in more real time then.
Absolutely. In fact, like we mentioned, touchless is the name of the game from here on. Everything has to be done in as touchless a manner as possible. So being able to scan your face, being able to scan your temperature without having being close to any other person, and then also being able to self-certify or answer a few questions that authorities may have. In fact, CDC has come up with some guidelines on type of questions that have to be asked before a person can, specifically in the case of asymptomatic scenarios, right? So all those are being done in a very touchless, using our thermal as well as chatbot functionality that we have brought in.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, and I understand, of course, in this environment that we're all looking at, social distancing, and we're trying to stay away from each other. There's a lot of issues with that, with respect to being on the airplane. But when you're looking at the office place or the workplace, how does this pandemic control system address that kind of a challenge?
Absolutely, and this takes this whole thing to the next level. So once you have passed through that initial screening and the entry of an organization or a building, once you are inside the office, the next level of regulation starts to kick in, which is you got to be 6 feet apart from your colleague or other people that you are interacting with. So we have this app that we just released that basically once installed on the Android devices, then can detect anybody with the same device or with the Android device closer to you, less than 6 feet, and will start buzzing and will help you get out of that safe or become in the safe distance.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting because we're all really concerned about social distancing and how it's really impacting one another. And so to have the ability to be able to know that in real time, that's really a big significant advantage. Now, it has some other features. I know we see this slide on the screen now about real-time crowd sensing. What does that really mean? What's that all about?
Again, the same thing, taking the whole notion of being able to detect the location, the real-time location of individuals, and then being able to determine where the crowd is, and hence guiding people, number one, to be away from that crowd scenario, and also alerting people who are within the crowd to go outside of that space and be out of that and maintain that 6 feet of distance which is required.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's really interesting. So also, I know that it does tracking of employee movements, and I know that we're all kind of worried about tracing when you do come in contact with somebody. Is there any aspect of tracking and tracing that's part of this as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So here, there are a couple of scenarios that are happening. What you see on the screen right now is really a scenario where the system is able to detect if there is a case of a COVID-19 situation, then system is able to detect where the person has been in the last certain period of time, an hour or so, and also which all people have been close to that particular individual, let's say, and hence be able to detect what the contact tracing has been in those situations. What is not visible on the screen, which is another aspect of the contact tracing, is if somebody is indeed found to be positive on the COVID-19 situation, then we have the ability to actually integrate with the calendar of that person and be able to see what all meetings that person had in the last, let's say, couple of days or a week, and be able to do some contact tracing based on that as well.
Yeah, when I saw this system, it was really intriguing to me because, as a business, listen, we've been talking about how it's important for people to understand the factors that are around us and to be able to respond according to that. Business is down, revenues are down in many different areas, but in other areas, we have things that are increasing. And I was just really impressed with Ramco and with your, ability to look around and to see what was happening and then sort of take some of your technology that you had in play and then adapt it to what the demands and needs were of the industry. I think that's really an exciting approach because I think everybody needs to be looking at doing that, adjusting their business to what the needs around them are driving.
Absolutely. And Brett, I will ask probably VA to comment on, all the basic trends that we are seeing in the market, specifically from our customers' perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think,
yeah, give us some thoughts on what's happening in the industry and the trends and how we need to look at the demands of what's happening around us.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to complain to the government and look for bailouts. The other thing is to do something about it. And I would say doing something about it is whatever agenda has been pushed to the back burner of digital transformation needs to be taken up now. If you can't do transformation, you will never be able to do it. There's not a better moment to do it. And market is showing us all digital companies are thriving in COVID times, all of them. If you see Instacart, 500% jump in demand that they had. The way digital companies are doing right now is amazing. E-commerce, the kind of work, the kind of valuation of AWS, Amazon that we are seeing is mind-boggling. So it's important that no longer it can be put on the back burner. Aviation industry has been very paper-based. It has not adopted technology. I think it's time to adopt technology and also look at new business models, pivot to new business models, give a lot of importance to cargo as well. Cargo should start forming maybe half the revenue of an aviation company. So, I mean, if let's say Star Alliance or Sky Team and so on were to come, think of them of taking on logistics companies. There's nobody better than them who can take on logistics companies. You have a very beautiful e-commerce system for ticket booking. Can you extend this to cargo booking? Can you have all freight forwarders reach across to you? So those questions need to be asked. You need to pivot to a new business model very quickly. Make yourself both a cargo and a passenger company at the same time. And maybe if aircraft mods are required, then they need to be done.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in the industry right now, we're seeing a significant increase in cargo flying and the demands have really changed, which makes it really tricky because that passenger aircraft carry a lot of cargo, in the cargo holds and also cargo aircraft move it around. And with the reduction in passenger aircraft flying, that's changed the demands for cargo movement. And so as we showed at the beginning of the program, they're even carrying it around in seats right now, in passenger seats. And so, this is an interesting thought. In our earlier discussions, you mentioned to me that logistics, the companies that are booking and moving cargo maybe need to rethink the way that they're doing that and consider their existing digital infrastructures and leverage that. And so that's kind of what you just started telling me a little bit about there. What are your thoughts and ideas on how, we could optimize the cargo growth and use some of our existing infrastructure to be able to maybe better handle that?
Yeah, so cargo has something called first mile and last mile. So as long as the airlines can tie up first mile, they can tie up the last mile providers, they can pretty much offer a very seamless experience. And if they were to give a seamless experience as, let's say, a Star Alliance team or a Sky team to a customer, they pretty much cover every city that matters in the world where they fly to. So the customer, they can start booking cargo the way they are booking tickets. If something like that were to happen, that will do wonders to the whole equation of the business.
Yeah. Hey, let's just take a quick break. With so many people online, we have a lot of people online all around the world, and I'm seeing that that there's a lot of questions, that are coming in, and so a lot of people are acknowledging that they're out there, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. We have people from Nepal, and we have people from Kenya, and all over in the UAE and in Madrid and Bangalore and Brazil and Dubai and the UK and Rome and Miami. Baghdad, Casablanca, all over the place, in all corners of the world right now. And it's just scrolling so fast, I can't even keep track of it. But let me go here. We got a couple of questions, and one of them we have here is, we may or may not be able to answer this, but I just want to bring it up. Is somebody's asked here, is that what about safety management systems in aviation? Does Ramco have any software that helps with safety management systems in aviation today?
Yeah. Manoj, you want to answer that? Yeah.
So I think there are multiple elements of safety management systems. We do have as part of our aviation suite of product, safety management module, where you can pretty much capture every aspect of incidents that may happen from in-flight to on the ground, and then be able to follow the complete cycle of resolution of those incidents and the whole cycle that follows after that in terms of the immediate resolution as well as the preventive action, the corrective action. All of that is possible within the module. Yes, we do have that. Okay, well, that's great. That's really interesting. Let me go to another question here. Let me see down here from Victor. Grab that one right there. How is Ramco addressing the data privacy laws of consumers such as GDPR? I know that's always a concern. I have people ask me, "Are you GDPR compliant?" So what is Ramco doing to ensure compliance with privacy laws and things like that?
I think, Mark, I'll take that. See, one thing that is going to suffer during this period of time is privacy. So these apps, definitely there's a concern. And now the way we have structured it is that data is not revealed till such time somebody is found with COVID. Only when you're found with COVID, we have to figure out whom all this person came in touch with, who all can be at risk. So if you want your safety, there will be some compromise on privacy. And we are talking of within the company. We are not talking of a generic app like what Apple and Google were talking about. So we are talking of when you enter our premises, you need to switch on your Bluetooth, and that's the time the track and trace starts, the safe distancing starts, everything starts there. So it's for corporate employees, it's employees of the organization. You can rest assured that nobody is going to do anything about the data. It will be anonymous till such point there's a need to know who could be affected, and it's for the safety of the employees, safety of the people. And incidentally, we are GDPR compliant ourselves for our HR software. But under these circumstances, I think privacy will have to be compromised a little because facial recognition is required to mark your attendance. You can't swipe your card anymore to be safe. So I think that
I think we all have to remember is that all HR departments, maintain and manage, and security departments maintain and manage sensitive information, today. And they're required to keep it controlled and keep it private. We all have IT administrators who manage, user IDs and passwords, and they're encrypted and protected within secure systems. And it would seem to me that we just need to continue to apply best practices toward the handling of information such as the lead that was given to us by GDPR kind of requirements. So I would imagine that your company as a whole would continue to respect those things, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Very good. So let's maybe grab one more question here, and then we'll continue on with some of our program. And we'll come back to the questions here. But let me see. Okay. So here's a question that's coming out of a project manager. Let me grab that one right here. This one right here. There we go. So we have a question here that says customers booking cargo. We have DHL and FedEx doing that. And so what exactly is it that you're proposing that's being done maybe differently? Because there are companies out there that are manually booking cargo, or some of those companies have very advanced systems. Maybe Manoj or VA, can you suggest maybe what maybe the next level is for that? How has that become more advanced than the systems that are there actually today?
See, just like you have 20-feet containers and shipping lines or behind the trucks, you have something called ULDs in aviation business. ULD is the silver color boxes that you see out there. And those boxes need to be tracked because if, for example, Singapore Airlines flies to LA and leave that box there, that box is picked up by some other airline and they collect rent on it. Now, when the business changes in this manner, then the airline becomes a super aggregator. Right now, airline is just fed by only what we call freight forwarders. Then it becomes a super aggregator. It can take demand directly from freight forwarders or end consumers. And as you go and sell your corporate tickets, you may go and sell corporate cargo services because you'll be able to offer them globally end to end, which very few companies can do without involving other carriers. You have a complete network of, say, Star Alliance covering almost every city. So you go to Coca-Cola and say, I take global distribution for you. Within US, I'll distribute through, let's say, United if you're Star Alliance, Asia, I'll cover through Singapore Airlines or whatever else you may have, and so on. So that's how the value proposition is.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's no disrespect to anybody that offers those kind of systems today because they do offer a great deal of capability. But if you really think about it, there's a tremendous amount of manual process that still exists out there. And, just like in other aspects of aviation, we're trying to put more control into the individual's hands. Like we're trying to give them, down to their mobile device, we're trying to give them the ability to be able to check in, and to be able to order services and things like that. I think it would be an amazing opportunity to expand the logistics and the cargo operations to the point where, you had all the way from the point of beginning to end, put that directly into people's hands, into their devices, and provide them greater control over logistics. I really think that's a great, thought.
Yeah. And I must mention one more thing, Mark, here. I think, the key point is, like I said in the beginning, pivoting is important. And also the whole fundamental rule of diversification. And this ties back to some of the trend that we are seeing with our customers as well. Clearly, while the limelight is being hogged by the commercial airlines and some of the downturn associated with that, but we are also seeing there are other segments in the industry, specifically those that have been quite diversified in their operations. For example, some of the rotary wing, the helicopter operators in the world, the larger ones, they're very diversified. They have oil and gas business, they have air medical business, they have aerial tourism business, and a lot of special essential services operations. So clearly what we're seeing that these operators are seeing quite an uptick in the air medical side of their business, which is compensating for the downturn that may happen on the tourism side. So I think companies have to take a look at diversification of their portfolio in a very serious manner in the aviation industry.
Yeah, maybe we'll just take a slight little quick diversion on that thought, because I think that's really important is that Ramco as a company as whole, you support software and solutions in aviation and other industries as well, but within aviation. But the fact that aviation cuts across many different vertical segments, that's really interesting. You just talked about that right there, like your helicopter companies or your air ambulance companies that you support. Now, they really are diversified across a lot of different verticals, right? I mean, what you're saying.
Absolutely. And that's just one example. I think, if you look at other, and we are very fortunate, Ramco has been very fortunate to have a very well-diversified set of customers. We have airline customers, we have special operations, we have business and general aviation, helicopter operators, and MROs in pretty much every shade. and then the whole defense segment, right? So as a company also, we feel that because of the diversification that we have had so far, we have been rather lucky in terms of how our business has been performing so far. And I think that applies to our customers as well. And I must also say that, and I think it is very important for a few companies, a segment of companies in this industry, especially the bigger ones like the aircraft manufacturers on one end and the larger airlines on the other, to take some sort of a leadership role and infusing liquidity in the system as they're getting some stimulus package, and be able to support some of these tier 1 and tier 2 MROs, who, by the way, can do wonders by actually improving the efficiency because there's a need for it.
Yeah. Now, Manoj, you said that your company was rather lucky that we were diversified. I'd like to maybe throw that back to VA. I think it's probably the leadership which intentionally creates diversification for the success of the company. You know, VA, do you have any thoughts on diversification and how that's important for anyone in this time?
Yeah, I think we are in defense, as Manoj mentioned, and defense is very resilient. Actually, governments will spend more. We are in helicopters, which seem to be doing well, rather. The only segment seems to be suffering is airlines. And then we, of course, have MROs, which are not doing so well, but not doing so badly because they serve multiple needs that are out there. So in that sense, we are well diversified. Apart from this, we have a few other product lines as a company. But what we are doing as a company is we are entirely focused on the transformation agenda. We want to be the first to the market for everything. AIML, digital transformation. What we are telling companies is now is the time to look for 10 times improvement in productivity.
Well, let's have a quick discussion about that digital transformation. You know, as I'm looking across at the industry, you know that I'm doing regular interviews with CEOs of different companies, you know, all around the world right now on this program. And we're definitely seeing increase in more cargo flying. We're seeing, you know, like more cargo being booked. We're seeing load factors being a challenge. We're seeing things like increase in business aviation flying. There's demands for social distancing. There's demands for, you know, digital, like in electronic records or things like that. Now, you have a passion for digitalization and digital transformation, you know, and you just said that right now. This is a time, you know, in history where people can focus on that. You know, can you give us sort of your thoughts on why this is the right time right now to move toward digital transformation?
See, normally transformation, carry out digital transformation shakes the company, shakes the culture, shakes lots of things the way you do. But an opportunity like this, a moment like this, if you've been handed over a lemon, you can make a lemonade or you can cry about it. So the idea is to seek an opportunity out of COVID and transform the business that you have. So when the better times comes, you are much better prepared. And I think this is the time the companies can look for cutting out massive amount of back office cost, moving to a model which can be asset light. That means not holding the inventory. Inventory is shared amongst a pool of airlines and so on and so forth. Try and see if they can work out short-term rentals from companies so you don't carry a lot of aircraft as an asset on your platform. The key is that you have to examine every process and look for 10 times improvement and not 10%. And that will be eliminating the process and not improving the process. You don't want to be a faster caterpillar. You want to be a butterfly. And to be a butterfly, you have to aim for 10 times higher productivity, not 10%. And that means if you procure using, let's say, 100 people, you have to say, using AIML, the system can itself choose who's the best supplier and raise the purchase orders for you. And that's
Okay,
a question.
let's build on that just for a second. So, you know, I know everybody in a time like this, they have sort of two different major areas they can focus on. One, they can say this is a good time to maybe do some digital transformation and create efficiencies, or maybe it's a time for complete transformation of the business. And so what I'm saying is that there's sort of this create efficiencies that are required because of the demands, you know, in the marketplace, or a time where there's an opportunity to do something really tremendous and have a substantial, you know, movement or a shift, like you said, at 10x. And is it, you know, give us sort of your thoughts and your concepts on that. What's the difference between just doing a small tweak in your business, creating a little bit of efficiency, or doing a major transformation?
So 10x means that you eliminate a process, you don't improve it. Let's say if you ask your people in company that I want 15% improvement because of COVID, and they will come out with something which is, improve this process manually and so forth. If you ask them for 10 times, they'll be forced to think now. They'll be forced to think. They'll be forced to eliminate multiple steps. Just to give an example, one of our customers in Australia, from the time mechanic needs a part till the time a PO is raised was 42 days. When I asked their CEO, how much time do you think? He says maybe 7 days. The approval cycle itself was 11 days amongst various layers once the PO was ready to be sent out. Just imagine if this POs could be raised automatically. And once we told them that we can raise 80% of the purchase orders automatically without a human intervention, now that is called 10x. Because you are taking 42 days from the time you start.
Yeah,
So
no,
those
that's
interventions.
yeah, that's really important. One of the things that we've always said in our business is that digital transformation really has four stools. One, four corners on a four. It's like four legs on a stool is what I'm trying to say. Is that is that number one is that people have to believe that it's possible, and then it comes down to people, processes, and technology. And so digital transformation isn't just about technology. It's about the people that are making things happen, and it's about the changing of the business processes, believing that you can do it, and the implementation of technology as part of that overall process. And I think what you just described was a transformation which is revolutionary, which says use technology and changes in business processes, really believe in what you can do, and engage people in the implementation of that. I really like what you were saying around that area. That really makes sense.
And maybe Manoj can give you some examples of
Yeah,
some company which went 50 times Manoj and the
Yeah.
digital.
absolutely. I think, one of the key things that we just mentioned, that don't just incrementally improve your process, but seriously look for even eliminating of the process, right? So, one of the classic example of that elimination part of the whole equation is transitioning to cloud. This whole cloud has been a lip service by quite a few companies for the last many years, but recently we have seen a lot of trend moving towards cloud. And there's, of course, a larger strategic and long-term advantage of moving to cloud. But we believe this whole COVID-19 situation has really given that driver the trigger for making those changes, like we have said. And right now, almost all our customers are coming to us, existing customers, and essentially asking us to move them to Ramco Cloud. And there it's the complete elimination of the process in terms of the IT infrastructure, all the costs associated with it. And we are able to give them cost savings, the immediate cost saving in the very first year up to 30%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of big change you're talking about from the digitization perspective or digital.
Okay, well, what is the Ramco Cloud? What is that? It's the first time you brought that up. What is that?
So Ramco Cloud is our version of, the way we think about Ramco Cloud is there's no better entity to run Ramco than Ramco itself. So if you are using Ramco, you just need to have internet connection and a browser or an iPad or some digital device. Leave rest of the running of the software to us. And behind the scene, we have the whole infrastructure that spans across multiple customers using which we run our cloud using some of the major, bigger platforms like AWS and Azure, and then we provide services to our end customers.
Okay, so you're doing both software as a service and infrastructure as a service.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. No, I see that as really something, as I've visited with, last year, and I haven't this year, but last year I traveled 480,000 miles, and I basically, visited airlines and MROs all around the world. And, the problem is that about 85 to 90% of them out there still have mostly manual or paper processes. However, they're all talking about how do we move toward this software as a service and more infrastructure as a service. And so that's really a tremendous opportunity, for people now to do that. Hey, listen, have you ever heard of the term dirty fingerprint before?
Oh, yeah.
Is that takes on a whole new thought, is that who wants to be handling dirty fingerprint paper anymore? We all need to be thinking about how do we move toward a digital world and not handling all that paper anymore at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, can we go back and answer some questions? We have so many questions that are out there. Let me just take a quick little break here and go to a couple of them. Let me look at our screen here and see where we can go. There's just too many of them. If we could just go up here a little bit on the screen. Looks like I won't be able to put it on the screen, but that's okay. I have one here that I wanted to point out. It's with my friend Jaco Lewis. He's actually located in Amsterdam. And he asked, to what extent is Ramco supporting IoT, maybe for parts tracking or enhancing parts data, maybe in combination with 5G? Are you doing anything with parts tracking or with IoT or leveraging of 5G technology? Are you doing anything in these areas today?
5G, not yet. IoT in a limited manner. We had used it for tools, not for parts, because we have tried this earlier as well. It is something not turning out to be doable, and we would rather rely upon other means. This is not the first time that companies have tried on using either the tags onto the parts and so on and so forth, but somehow this is not taken off. I mean, the beacons were there all over the warehouses and so on. Beacon had a great future in retail. Somehow it's not taken off. 5G not yet, but 5G should be soon up and coming, because we're moving to edge devices more and more. When I say edge device, means a lot of compute will get done at the front end. So if you see, a pandemic control system is entirely based on edge device. Having said that, we take input from various engines that are running. Once the aircraft comes to a halt, the data gets transferred from the engine, gets transferred from the cockpit, and so on and so forth. So we are assimilating a lot of streaming data coming from these devices and making sense of it. But I would not say it's a mainstream thing for us.
Yeah, well, I also see you using sort of the IoT sort of concept when you're doing like your pandemic control system and doing, tracking. And so you definitely are, creating live connections between lots of different devices. And so, what you're pointing out, though, is that our industry has struggled with, in fact, making money with RFID and with, devices like that. And so we need to be focusing on the things which are going to drive revenue and drive return on investment, and not on those things which are just sort of interesting technology ideas. And so I think that's a great response to the situation. No question about that. Yep. Hey, let me bring up another question here. I have a question from somebody about automation is required at lease returns, and especially for digital documentation and records, kind of like some of the car companies are doing. What are you doing for records and, making digital records available, and how might that be able to help lease operators or returning aircraft, back into service or changing hands to different lease operators?
Yeah, I can take that if you would like me to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing I can tell you, this is probably one of our hottest thing that we have taken it to market, Mark. Imagine a situation where every documentation that an airline or an operator or an MRO for that matter has in terms of the task instructions and all the OEM manuals and documentation that are all over the place in terms of paper documents right now, right? Being able to take each and all of those and basically convert them into digital documents within the system, ingest them as live digital documents, PDF documents, and being able to add, modify, edit those documents, and then be able to make them intelligent that they are actually part of the whole maintenance and MRO process in a way that they are connected to every time a mechanic is doing a work and requires a documentation relevant to a particular task, that documentation shows up in his or her device at that point. So now not only we have digitized that document, now that document is available in the device of the mechanic for them to be able to refer those documents. And then not only be able to refer, but also be able to digitally sign off line by line in that document for the task that they have performed. So basically an e-signature enabled. And then once all the work is done and digitally signed on those documents, they are now available to be provided to whoever asks for it, whether it's a regulatory authorities or has to be given back to the lessors or any other for internal usage. So pretty much from beginning to the end, everything is digitized, can be digitized using our digital offerings, including the mobility apps.
Okay, now, I knew that, everybody has the ability to be able to save records off, PDF files and things like that. But what you're talking about is a little bit new. Tell me, is that does Ramco actually have mobile devices and mobile capability and digital electronic signature on mobile devices for like task cards and things like that today?
I can tell you pretty safely that probably the state of the art mobile app in the industry is what we have right now. Examples would be, for example, Panasonic Avionics Corporation, approximately somewhere around 2,000 users in a very mobile, and not only mobile, in an offline, disconnected manner, wherever there are limited internet connectivity, that is available on mobile device for the technicians to work on. And at any given point of time, 1,000 to 2,000 users in just single company itself are using. And we have mobile device for mechanics, we have mobile device for pilots, we have mobile device for warehouse people, we have mobile device for senior management to do approvals, mobile device for tools tracking, you name it, pretty much all the key functional areas in the aviation ecosystem, we have the mobile device for that.
Oh, that's I didn't realize that your software had advanced so far in the last couple of years to provide that much mobile capability. So you actually have like step level or task level electronic signature capabilities today for work execution. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, our customers are celebrating a 1-year anniversary and more of using our electronic signature capability. And as a matter of fact, one customer of ours, when this whole term of electronic signature was not even available or not so much prominent at that time, almost 10, 12 years back, we enabled the digital signature for one of our oil and gas operator customer. And now, of course, a lot of customers in the US and outside of US have started actually using our e-signature capability. Yes.
Okay. I have another interesting question here, from somebody, is I know everybody's always concerned about this, is that, there's hardly a company out there that doesn't have a significant MRO or an ERP system already today. There's a question here basically that says that how easily do all modules that are offered by Ramco, can they connect and interact with one another, or to be able to connect with maybe existing systems? What do you do in that area? How do you handle such a complex portfolio and integrations that are required?
I think
I'll talk. Yeah, go ahead, VA. Yeah.
Yeah. So one is, we have never acquired a company, so it's a single product. So we are not a conglomeration of companies. Most of our competition is conglomeration of acquisitions. So everything is born from a single tool, single technology, single programming methodology that we have. And second thing is, the system is based using APIs. So Manoj, as you mentioned about the front end on mobile and so on and so forth, we have front end on email. You can do email-based data entry now. You can use bots. You can come from any mechanism. You can even read the calendar and pick up data from there. So we allow multiple data sources to put data into the system. So it's API-based. It's REST API. It is on the safe software, there is no acquisition, so it's all residing in a single database. So all modules have been organically brought up together. It is not plug and play or not an afterthought, or it's not a patchwork or something. So they are naturally connected to each other. And
okay, what if somebody doesn't need that entire portfolio? I mean, is it possible for them to implement smaller pieces of it?
Yeah, so I can take that one of VA. So I think you have to look at this from both the horizontal and vertical perspective, Mark. So absolutely, what we have to offer, it's not only one, full suite of product, but it's very modular. You can actually take a certain logical set of modules. For example, I'm just picking, let's say, maintenance set of modules or supply chain or finance, etc. And then you can actually, because of the API-based connections that we enable, you can plug it with any other different legacy system that you may have. But that's from the functional perspective, right? Also, I think we talked about the whole digital aspect of it. So what we call is as digital layering on top of your legacy system. So what that means is across the board, the whole maintenance, planning, supply chain, and execution, if you have an existing system for that, you don't have to rip or replace that to layer the whole digital mobile system that we have. You can pretty much apply it on top of your existing legacy system.
Okay, so it's very modular nature then. Really good. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Hey, listen, one other question before we move on here. I know that you're doing some things with Panasonic, and one question we have here is, are you doing anything with IFE or in-flight entertainment systems? that would maybe enhance the consumer's engagement with that? Or are you doing anything to help companies to do more in that area? So what are you doing in the areas of IFE? I just wanted to ask the question because I know you're working with Panasonic.
Do you want to take it or let me?
So we don't do the content part of it. So as a consumer, if you're sitting on the seat, we don't handle the content. That is not our part. We handle the maintenance of the IFE. So you have, let's say, if Panasonic is offering service at 70 aircraft, 230 plus stations across the world. They carry our equipment and they are connected on an online real-time basis. If a fault occurs during the flight, the cabin crew conveys on an iPad. The layout of the plane is available to the cabin crew on an iPad. And before the plane lands, the Panasonic mechanics would know what exactly needs to be done. And they'll be able to carry out the repair during the halt time. You have 30, 40 minutes out there. We do not do the content that you enjoy on the flight. That is not the business.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, these have all been really, really good questions. And I want to come back to sort of what started driving this discussion right now is that we said that it's time to pivot your business and to focus on efficiencies and 10x transformations that can come from 10x or more transformations that can come from digital transformation. Is that let's sort of from the two of you one at a time come back to is it, I want people to really think about this. Is it what is the importance of doing major digital transformation at this time, Manoj? What is the importance of doing that right now?
Yeah, so I think, given the cost pressure that organizations have at this point of time, and specifically cash, it's very important that you, with the limited amount of cash and liquidity that you have, you do major transformations and then be ready for the demand which eventually comes out at the end of this whole situation that we are in. And specific example that I wanted to give, I know we are running out of time here, is the company that we mentioned. It's a parts supplier / trader, and they installed pretty much complete end-to-end enterprise aviation ERP software of ours. And from the time they implemented our software, there has been from 5 million to more than 50 million, 10x basically improvement in their business size from the revenue perspective, without any significant increase in the headcount. We have been able to pretty much automate every aspect of their business. And I have some numbers here. We have on the customer sale order that they create internally within the system using Ramco, 90% of that whole process is completely automated. On the other end of the process where they receive supply invoice, 85% of that whole invoice creation is completely automated, including auto matching with the PO. And then between these two, the way the sale order comes and the POs have to go to the suppliers, right now we have created some logic based on the business logic that the customer provided, the PO flip kind of logic, which automates the whole conversion from PO coming from the customers to the PO going to suppliers. And now we are working on this whole AI ML engine that is going to take it to the next level of improvement in terms of automation. So that's the kind of automation we're talking about for a company going from 5 million to 50 million and still be able to do at a very minimal cost.
Yeah, we all know how to increase revenue and to decrease expense, but also to increase that cash flow. And so those kind of systems are really, really going to be important. Hey, I wanted to flip over now to VA, and I wanted to ask you the same question. But I know that you have focused on a quote, that Peter Drucker has brought out, and you believe that that's an important part of sort of the thought process behind improving and 10xing things. What are your thoughts on digital transformation and how it can impact our businesses?
Yeah, I think this will cause a lot of heartburn to the robotic process automation vendors out there, because what we are saying is you are becoming a faster caterpillar with that. If you want to become a butterfly, focus on CPA, cognitive process automation, because that is a game-changing thing. That is something that eliminates the process. Manoj just talked about the new system, AI/ML system that we are putting in place. The supplier will be chosen by the system. There is no human input involved. The payment batch for most of the invoices that come to them will never see a human eye. And that requires tremendous courage on the part of the CEO himself to let the payment go to the supplier without anybody having seen it. Trusting the system and the AI/ML engine to do the job. So that is the game-changing thing in CPA, cognitive process automation. I keep repeating, don't try to improve the process. Put efforts to eliminate the process. And I'm very passionate about it. And we are building lots and lots of things into our product, embedding AI ML at every possible area that is there in the company. We have multiple use cases gone live at various locations of customer, more and more customers signing up. And now we have so much confidence that we are telling customer, pay us when you see the benefit, not before that.
Yeah, there's so many things we could talk about, in this area. That we are so passionate about digital transformation. I have completely dedicated my business to promoting of digital transformation within aviation because I've seen the tremendous impact really that it has on our industry. I've seen how far behind so many businesses are and using paper in the industry today, that it's really important that we really advance ourselves and create additional digital transformation. There's so many topics that we could talk about. And as sort of we start to bring this session to a close, we're almost coming up on an hour right now. I wanted to tell people about an exciting opportunity you have. We actually, Ramco actually is working in conjunction with our friends at Aircraft IT. And, Aircraft IT has focused their business on bringing information technology, digital, into the aviation industry. And they have a great business model of promoting that, and they have for a number of years now. And one of the things they do is they partner with companies like Ramco Systems and give them the ability to be able to do webinars. And next week on the 27th of May, there's a webinar that Ramco is doing in conjunction with Aircraft IT. And you can sign up for it, and you'll be able to learn more about the topic that we're talking about today and about digital transformation and the things that Ramco is offering. You can go to this URL here, which is www.aircraftit.com, MRO upcoming, and you can register for this upcoming webinar. Did either of the two of you have anything you wanted to say about this upcoming webinar next week?
Well, I think Manoj covered about this. This is about digital task card, being able to sign the task card. The supervisor can also sign. We have also given a feature in which multiple people can edit the same document, very relevant in line maintenance scenario. When an aircraft comes, there are multiple agencies working on it, and each person can see who has done the job, and the inspector can see and the airline rep can see. The requirement was by the time the aircraft leaves, all the documentation is complete, and everybody is simultaneously able to see what all is over and what all needs to be done. So I think it's just about what Manoj described to you about
in the beginning, that the state-of-the-art mobility app that we have brought to the market, if you really want to see what that is, next week's webinar is all about that.
Okay, very good. Excellent. So you want to continue this conversation, go there and you'll be able to get more information. Now, I always like to wrap up these Recovery in Aviation broadcasts with something that's really, really important. We're all looking around us and we're trying to decide what we can do in our own businesses to be able to create recovery, to be able to respond properly. And I wanted to give the two of you an opportunity to be able to respond to this. So let me start with Manoj. What recommendations and advice could you give to businesses out there on what they should be doing to be able to respond to the factors around them and to be able to bring their business to accelerate recovery or to produce a successful environment at these times? What recommendations can you make to them, Manoj?
I will say the barrier to change has never been lower, and the motivation to do something has never been higher. This is a time you take advantage of technologies out there. You got to really rethink your processes, eliminate them to the extent you can, automate them to the extent you can, integrate them to the extent you can, and try to go for 10x. That's really what it's all about, not 10%.
Fantastic. That's really good. Good advice. So VA, let's roll that over to you. Is it how would you answer that same question? What should people be doing at this time in their businesses, given all the factors around us, to be able to be successful in this environment?
I think, there are various players need to do different things. This may be the SaaS movement. SaaS is software as a service movement. This may be the cloud movement of the software industry for the aviation industry. If you're an OEM, Boeing or Airbus, I would rather say that you go in for offering aircraft as a service. Airlines do not do maintenance. Airlines do not own the asset. You own the assets, and you have the courage of giving them on short-term rentals. and taking complete maintenance responsibility for yourself. That's a huge change, but that may spur the demand in the industry. And second thing is, it may help make rapid shifts as you see the demand changing in the market, and maybe bring down the cost of operators massively while it is summer in Greece, winter somewhere else, southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, and the planes fly a lot more in the summer and a lot less in the winter. So the airlines can cross-utilize. The small airlines can't cross-utilize. Their fleet may sit idle during winter times, while summer times they'll be more than busy. So aircraft as a service is one item that comes to me. Second is, every airline owns the maintenance. There is no point in owning the maintenance. You are in flying business. You have to build CRM. You have to build customer relationships. You have to care for the customer. Don't do maintenance. Leave it to MROs to do in case you're not going. In case OEMs are not going to do it. And third thing is, do not store inventory. Share at least rotables amongst each other. Inventory pooling, as we may call. Do loans, exchanges, and so on and so forth. Or hand it to professional companies who will manage it for you, what we call inventory technical management, who will keep resources, parts on behalf of, rotables behalf of 50 airlines, 100 airlines, and so on and so forth, and make them available at a very quick short notice. Thereby, everybody is not stocking an extra level of inventory out there. Do not stock inventory. And fourth thing, very revolutionary, I would say, is, if possible, do not have the cabin crew and the pilots as well on your rolls. So everything as a service, be it the staff as a service, be the aircraft as a service, be the spare part as a service, be the maintenance as a service. So think of yourself as becoming an Uber, which brings passenger and aircraft capacity together to make things happen, and be a very, very efficient asset-light model is something you can pivot to. That's what comes to my mind as a very revolutionary change.
Excellent. I hear you saying focus and flexibility in all those four major areas. That's really good advice. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, listen, let me tell you what my advice is to people out there. All right, is that I believe that enthusiastic leaders are the key to success in any time, including this: resilience and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a fire, and it catches fire all around us. If you're an enthusiastic leader, and if you're looking around, and if you're looking to dynamically change your business, then you are going to have an impact on the people around you and the success of your business. That's my free advice for the day. Hey, gentlemen, listen, we've come to the conclusion of our broadcast today, and I really want to thank you for being part of this. I think we've had some really great information that's been shared, and it's always good to hear from people all around the world on what they're doing. Ramco is a very successful business. You've grown dramatically over the years, and we want to continue to see you be successful. And I can obviously see from the things that you've talked about today that you're moving dynamically. You're focused on the things to help other companies be successful. And I want to thank you very much for all that you're doing, and I wish you the greatest success in your business.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for organizing this. Wonderful.
Very good. Listen, I want to close the broadcast the way that I do all the time, and I say fair winds and following seas to you, and have a great day, and we'll see you online in digital transformation. Bye now.
Thank you.